Okay, good morning everybody. Going to make the first declaration of the morning for Bushy North Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council. Declaration of the result of the poll. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Bushy North Ward of the Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at this election is as follows. Names of the candidates: Sheridan Eddie, Liberal Democrat, 1,275, that's 1275. Sarbutts Jim, Labour, 445, that's 445. West Jane, Conservative, 1371. Unmarked or wholly void for uncertainty with 20. I do hereby declare that the said Jane West is duly elected councillor for the Bushy North Ward, dated 7th of May 2010. Thank you. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Hillside Ward of the Hertsmere Borough, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at this election is as follows. Parnell Sandra, Conservative, 2,496, that's 2496. Pitar Lee, Labour, 1,499, 1499. The number of ballot papers where reading or mark for which the voter could be identified is 53. I do hereby declare that the said Sandra Parnell is duly elected councillor for the Hillside Ward, 7th of May 2010. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Bushy Park Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at this election is as follows. Names of the candidates: Burfield David, Labour, 323, 323. Collins David, Conservative, 1,439, 1439. Owensworth Anita, Liberal Democrat, 686, 686. The number of ballot papers rejected were 13. That's for candidates who voted for more than one person. So I do hereby declare that the said David Collins is duly elected for the Bushy Park Ward on a turnout of 72.5%, 7th of May. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Kenilworth Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at this election is as follows. The names: Butler Richard, Labour, 1,188, that's 1188. Strack Pat, Conservative, 1,253. The number of votes rejected were 42 for writing or a spoiled vote. And I do hereby declare that said Pat Strack is duly elected as a councillor for the Kenilworth Ward on a turnout of 59.9%. Thank you. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Elstree Ward of the Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at this election is as follows. Feeney Ian, Labour, 545, that's 545. Gannisakira Derek, Conservative, 1,902, 1902. The number of spoiled votes was 37. I hereby declare that the said Derek Gannisakira is duly elected as councillor for the Elstree Ward, 7th of May 2010. The turnout was 67.5%. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of councillors for the Bushy Street James Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at this election is as follows. Names: Ching Yu Ting, Labour, 507, 507. Gamble Robert, Liberal Democrat, 1,377, 1377. Kieran Denise, Conservative, 1850, 1850. The number of spoiled votes were 20. I hereby declare that the said Denise Kieran is duly elected for the Bushy St James Ward, the turnout of 68.2%. Okay, next declaration is for Potters Bar, Firsfield Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council. Declaration of the result of the poll. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Potters Bar, Firsfield Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at the election is as follows. Fisher Jim, Labour, 1,061, that's 1061. Worcester Martin, Conservative, 2,250, 2250. The number of unmarked or spoiled votes were 77. I hereby declare that the said Martin Worcester is duly elected a councillor for the Potters Bar, Firsfield Ward on a turnout of 69.1%. Thank you. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillors for the Brookmeadow Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate this election is as follows. Clements Sam, Labour, 650, 650. Gilligan Rosemary, Conservative, 1,949, 1949. There's 34 spoiled votes. I hereby declare Rosemary Gilligan is duly elected for the Shello Shenley Ward. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of Councillor Brookmeadow Ward, do hereby give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate at the said election is as follows. Cohen Harvey, Conservative, 1,503, that's 1,503. Godelman Andrew, Independent, 125, that's 125. Green Frida, BNP, 264, that's 264. McMullen Jeanette, Labour, 863, that's 863. Sear Judith, Liberal, 509, 509. The number of spoiled votes were 8. I hereby declare that the said Harvey Cohen is duly elected councillor for the Brookmeadow Ward. The turnout was 59.6%. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Cowley Hill Ward, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate this election is as follows. Cooper Colin, BNP, 426, that's 426. Hoxham Adai, Labour, 1,373, that's 1,373. Mitchell Ann, Conservative, 1,189, that's 1,189. Ward Frank, Independent, 268, 268. Spoiled votes, 30. I do hereby declare that the said Di Hoxma is duly elected councillor for the Curly Hill Ward. And the turnout was 54.1%. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Pottersbar Oakmere Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice the number of votes recorded for each candidate this election is as follows. Nakuma Michael, Labour, 1,148, that's 1,148. Ricks James, Conservative, 2,190. Number of spoiled votes, 85. I hereby declare the said James Ricks is duly elected for the Pottersbar Oakmere Ward. The turnout was 61.4%. Next declaration for Pottersbar Parkfield Ward. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Pottersbar Parkfield Ward of Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate in this selection is as follows. Hodgson Jones Sarah, Conservative, 3,083, 3,083. Marcus Derrick, Labour, 931. Number of spoiled votes, 71. I hereby declare that the said Sarah Hodgson Jones is duly elected as councillor for the Pottersbar Parkfield Ward. Turnout 67.8%. I, the undersigned, being the returning officer at the election of a councillor for the Bushy Heath Ward of the Hertsmere Borough Council, give notice that the number of votes recorded for each candidate is as follows. Bath George, Labour, 422, 422. Batten Brenda, Conservative, 2,997, that's 2,997. Brass Andrew, Liberal Democrat, 466, 466. Number of spoiled votes, 16. I hereby declare that the said Brenda Batten is duly elected as a councillor for the Bushy Heath Ward on a turnout of 74.1%.